Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion. And yes, you have certainly heard the results. And yes, it's late, and I was tempted to maybe not come on, to crawl into bed and sleep this disappointing evening off. But then I decided that I needed to be here. I wanted to be here. And I appreciate you being here, especially if you have been following these posts in which I'm talking about the tournament and what it means to me and welcoming you if you're a casual fan, a new fan, a bandwagon fan, whatever, welcome, right? I said that at the very beginning. And I think it's important that we are together during a time like this because, as Raj of Men in Blazers um, as he says so elegantly, that soccer is the most important, the most important, least important thing, right? We know what is most important. And to remind us of that, before we go any further, let us remember we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. And again, sport is sport. At the end of the day, it isn't everything. And yet it is something, and something important. The thrill of cheering on one's national team, following the story, being a part of that story, celebrating amazing things that they did. The Paraguay game still is always going to be amazing, but also being there and sticking with them and staying with them even after a night like this night. And you might be listening to pundits, you might be listening to others, what happened and why. And, very briefly, what I kind of think is it just was too much. It was too much. I got to say that in retrospect, the little dictator of the United States effed this up. I mean, we said this before, and he definitely did because in pushing for something that ultimately didn't help. I mean, Balogun was on the field. He looked pretty crappy, really. Compared, even everybody was having a bad night. None of the Americans played great, but he, you know, would it still have been a 4-1 scoreline without him on the field? Probably. Would it have been 5 or 6-1? No, he wasn't the difference. Would it have been four? Whatever, right? What I think we underestimated was the motivation that it gave to Belgium, right? There's sort of an old adage about don't give your opponent an article. Back in the days of articles, headlines, don't give them an article that the coach could put up on the bulletin board. Again, a little bit dated reference in the locker room and point at and say, look what they said about us. Look what they are saying about us. Only one way to settle this: go out and beat the tar out of them, so to speak, outplay them like madmen. And that's really what Belgium did, y'all. And I think that that was only part of it. This Belgium team had underperformed. They are a good team. They're an aging team. They've never really lived up to potential. They got out of the Senegal game with the skin of their teeth. And I think they had just something to prove, right? Those two things to prove. And it showed. And it showed. And then lastly, they have depth. One of the things that was so clear is going into the game, the U.S. and the pundits and all the people were saying, the Belgian legs, they're aging players, they're going to be tired. Well, guess what the coach did? The coach had such depth that he put in younger players, less experienced players, and they ran the U.S. to the ground. I mean, they beat us at our own game. And then margin of error. There were just some really just unfortunate things. That the third goal where the keeper screwed up, the fact that the U.S. got the goal on, again, an amazing free kick. I mean, it was basically lightning struck twice. You know, But then after the goal, the U.S. team, and again, experience, lack of experience, nerves, coaching, whatever, they didn't calm down, settle down. They let Belgium come right back, and in barely over a minute, Belgium got that second goal, and then it really they just took the wind out of their sails, and it took the crowd out of the game, right? And again, it was just a lot of things, and it is very sad. It's sad that they lost. I feel sad that it was so humiliating and so humbling, and we got schooled. We got schooled by a better team. And all this hype about the U.S. could win and believe in miracles, and that's all great for marketing and selling hype. At the end of the day, we're just not there yet, you know. And that's unfortunate. I feel sad. I wish we were. And nevertheless, this is reality. And we take what we can get. And, the tournament goes on. Somebody asked me, my daughter, 22-year-old, she asked me, who are you going to root for now, Dad? And I says, well, England looks pretty amazing. The England-Norway game this weekend. And Spain looks like it, has potential. France is unbelievable. We'll see what Argentina can do tomorrow when they play. And then, that third little curious corner, Switzerland and Colombia, those two teams are, kind of strong teams, dark horses, right? What are they going to look like? How are they going to play? So there's still lots of tournament ahead. There's lots to root for. It's going to slow down a little bit because I think Wednesday is off. So there is no game on Wednesday. And then looking ahead, I'm looking at my calendar here. I think the next game will be on Thursday. We got a game Thursday, a game Friday, and I think 2 games on Saturday. And then it kind of spaced out next week. So things are slowing down because we're getting to the big kids, the big boys, the superpowers, if you will. I want to close with this, though, y'all. I hope that this unlikely, amazing run of men's games, I hope you watched some of them or all of them. And I hope most importantly, you gain 2 things. Number one is a sense of why this sport is so beloved around the world, right? The challenge of the sport, how hard those players work, how much they throw their bodies around, the game of inches, the fact that the game speeds up at the end when it's a close game, right? And goals can be scored at the very end. Say what there's a lot that I love about college basketball. I really enjoy that. But the fact that it turns into a free throw shooting contest at the end is bonkers. A game should speed up, right? And that's how soccer is. Football, world football is, right? So I hope you've gotten a sense of that, especially if you're a new fan. And I hope that as the tournament ends, when it ends, you will find ways to continue that. There are MLS teams all over the country, maybe one near you. Start following that. The English Premier League is super easy to follow these days. See if that's something for you. And then on the women's side, the women's national team is really solid. When the next World Cup rolls around, I think it's in 2 years, watch them, follow them, get as passionate about them. The second thing, and this is what I'll close with, is I hope you made some memories, right? Because again, what is life but memories of experiences where we remember the times and the places and the people we were with and the feelings that we felt. I have this for World Cups going back all the way to 1994. 32 years I've been following this, and I have those memories. And maybe if this is your first one or second one or third one even, that those memories are beginning and you have some from this cup, the American team, and you'll still make some more going forward. I'll never forget the first game I went to with my friend Mark and discovering a watch party in a different part of town that I had not been to here, and just really enjoying that. Beautiful evening, the people, the conversations. The second game, the Australia game, my wife and I were all the way up on the Canadian border, and I'm watching it on my phone and streaming. And a friend I hadn't heard from for a long time reached out to me during that game, and that was really cool. And then the Turkey game, the feelings of what is this going to be and how is this going to be, and then losing at the end, and then the first round of 32, the Bosnia. I mean, all of these memories and these feelings. And even though we lost tonight, I'm going to remember the feeling of the loss. I did go to another watch party. I began with a watch party and ended with a watch party. And it was pretty awesome. Beautiful weather this evening, 3,000 plus fans. I was there with my friend Mark, who postponed some surgery in part to be there tonight. And it was just good to catch up, to be there, to see the people, the diversity of the city where I live, the country in which I live, to see that, you know. And I'll never forget, there were some Somali girls behind us wearing hijabs, and at least one of them had this shirt on, this very shirt. And I'll be honest with you, y'all. This is not a cheap shirt. I didn't pay full price for it. 110 is I think what it goes for at Dick's Sporting Goods. I got it for 40 on eBay, and even that was kind of pricey for a single shirt, right? But there's one of these young women with a hijab and her friends there. She had the shirt on, and I was like, look at me, look at you. We're so different in some ways, right? But yet we share this, and we are sharing this experience tonight, and we'll get to do it again. There's other tournaments the U.S. men's team play in. They play friendlies. The World Cup will be here in 4 more years, and I think that's what we want to take away, and that's what I hope you will take away. All right, y'all, I got to go to bed. It's Tuesday. I got a full week ahead. There's still some great soccer ahead. As I mentioned, tomorrow at looking at the schedule here, tomorrow is Argentina and Switzerland. That is at noon Eastern. And then an early game in the evening, get some rest tomorrow night, is Switzerland and Colombia at 4 p.m. So we got noon and 4 tomorrow. We'll see how those games go. And then nothing on Wednesday. So we all kind of catch our breath and take a little break. So, all right, y'all, I really appreciate your watching. Share this with others. Keep coming back for more. Again, I'm going to be pivoting back to my regular format here very soon. And I just appreciate your being here. So, blessing and good. Be bold, be well, hold fast, y'all.